Script here to another video, and I've been saying since day one that there was nowhere to go with the Rey movie. Just don't see how you can write an interesting story now with how powerful she is and everything else that's happened. It's kind of a wash at this point. And of course, one of the things is how you're going to write a compelling villain when you know how powerful she is. She can just do anything. So, of course, we are getting articles now coming out trying to come up with ideas as to what they could do to possibly salvage this situation. So here's one I found today. 5 Star Wars stories that the Rey movie should borrow from, with Rey returning to Star Wars. Here's some tales to help redeem this divisive heroine. So that's what it is. It's divisive. And that's Daisy Ridley's own words. She said that Rey is a divisive character. Well, actually, she said the sequel trilogy was divisive. She said that Force Awakens wasn't too bad, but she said The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker were very divisive, particularly The Last Jedi. The Rey movie can still succeed, and plenty of other Star Wars stories can help it do so. These books and games have provided hours of enjoyment for fans, blah, blah, blah. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, challenging the way the Force, the binary nature of the Force, could help the franchise evolve. Among the most subversive and challenging Star Wars tales is Knights of the Old Republic 2. This game examines the nature of the Force itself, both the light and the dark side. Each one can have positive and negative consequences. Maybe such a binary system isn't applicable to every scenario. It's the same message that The Last Jedi tried and failed. The Rey film is a great opportunity to follow through on said messages and truly take advantage of the questions they raise. That's not the only way it may benefit from KOTOR 2. Now, here's part of the problem with that. If you're trying to sort of go down this path of like the gray Jedi thing and why it failed in The Last Jedi and why it would fail if they tried it again. In stories, you do need binary. You do need definitions. It's not interesting if the villain is sort of good and kind of he's okay, and then the heroine or hero she's kind of bad, but it's okay. That's not actually appealing in a story. It's not going to work with a movie, a 2-hour movie, and it's certainly not going to work with a sci-fi fantasy movie. A fantasy movie needs to have clear-cut lines and clear-cut rules. Otherwise, it gets muddy and nobody cares. And it's not entertaining, especially in 2 hours. The game's protagonist represents a hole in the Force. They unconsciously draw in their characters and their energy to fill that void. I thought Nihilus sucked the energy out of people until they died or something like that to keep himself full of the Force. Maybe I could be wrong. Let me know in the comment section. It's why the party is simultaneously devoted to and disconcerted by the hero. Applying that premise to Rey could retroactively explain how she gains such power with little training or struggle. It would also reveal why Finn and the others are so ready to rally behind her. In short, it would change the way people view the whole sequel trilogy. Well, not really. Not really. Because Finn was clearly attracted to her, right? He had a crush on her. He asked her if she had a boyfriend pretty quickly in Force Awakens. So he was motivated by young man testosterone and hormones and probably not seeing a whole lot of cute girls around, being that he was a janitor, stormtrooper, blah, blah, blah. Not a lot of women in the Empire. So there's that aspect of it. And then the rest of them followed suit because she was so bloody powerful. When she's taken down, Kylo Ren on her first fight, you're like, whoa, we got to go with her. I don't think it would really change that. I don't think it would make that more believable. It certainly wouldn't explain why she's got so many powers. Not in a good way anyway. I'd have to totally disagree with that. And the whole idea that the protagonist is unconsciously drawing in other characters, well then what's the point of her? The whole point is that the hero, like, for example, in the OT, Luke is the hero and he's drawing people in because he's doing heroic things, not because it's unconscious. If it's unconscious, it's boring. That's not exciting at all. It would work in a video game. I don't think it would work at all on screen. The Heir to the Empire trilogy, fans might remember the Heir to the Empire books that introduced Grand Admiral Thrawn in the Galactic Chess game he plays with the heroes. While those concepts are indeed compelling, readers can also appreciate how the novels evolve the established characters after Return of the Jedi. It takes them through their logical next steps and showcases how they deal with those changes. Okay, what does that have to do? It's too late. She's stealing Between Rey and Ahsoka, they have essentially stolen the arc of Heir to the Empire. Especially engaging as Luke Skywalker, his tentative plans are to train Han and Leia's children and rebuild the Order, but he's not mentally or emotionally prepared. He's only been a Jedi for a short time, and he only knew 2 members of the Old Guard, and most of their training dealt with the Force's practical uses. The technical side is entirely new, so Luke only has a vague idea of his role in the New Republic and what he's meant to do for the galaxy's citizens. This makes him incredibly uncomfortable when people look at him as the resident authority on Jedi affairs. Yeah, that's what made the story interesting. Interesting. That uncertainty ensures that fans could still identify with the supposedly all-powerful hero, which is something Rey needs, especially since the original trilogy characters are all dead. Although the Thrawn threat is set to be dealt with in Ahsoka, perhaps he finds a way back after the final order. Come on. Really? No. And no, she has the Jedi texts. Luke didn't have Jedi texts in Heir to the Empire. So yeah, he was insecure because he didn't have a whole lot of information, right? Rey has a stack of books. Apparently she learned healing from them, so they're capable of doing that, and they've got all sorts of ancient Jedi stuff. Yeah, it's too late for that. The sequels ruined that idea. So she's gonna have all the information she needs. She just has to follow it, which is again boring, which is why they shouldn't have done that. Rian Johnson, yay, way to go. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Rey's utterly unfamiliar with Jedi history and customs. No, she's not. She has the ancient Jedi texts. They are called the ancient Jedi texts. She's very familiar. She's ill-equipped to rebuild the Order, especially if she wants it to last any longer than the previous attempts. After... What do you mean, like the 1,000 generations? That it would not be a priority at all. I've got to make it last longer. 1,000, good lord, you guys, that's 20,000 years. After all, those who don't learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. Because of that, it'd be logical for her to search for those secrets. Thankfully, Star Wars has a fine template for such archaeological expedition. The Star Wars Jedi games, in particular Survivor, deal heavily with the dormant corners of the galaxy. Fans regularly traverse subterranean temples, unlocking hidden secrets hidden for centuries. It's because that's what you do in video games. And that's why Rise of Skywalker was bad, because it was all about searching for artifacts and doing all this crap, and it was MacGuffin Fest, and so it was basically just a video game. I don't want to watch a video game if I go to a movie. Not only are these experiences intriguing in themselves, but they provide valuable knowledge and wisdom to aid the heroes in their current struggles about the High Republic. This guidance is exactly what Rey needs. It's a chance for both her and the audience to explore the ancient past, discovering the foundations of the Order she stumbled into. Now, if there's a reason for her to go somewhere that happens to be an ancient temple, fine. But if all she's doing is to go unlock secrets to reach the next level and power up, then it's a video game plot. That's the problem with a lot of modern movies now, is they write them like video games. Obviously, people that are writing them played a lot of video games, right? Video game generation, so that's how they're writing them. But they're not good movies. We don't want video game. And again, as far as her knowledge of the past, she's got the ancient Jedi text, so she's got everything she would possibly need anyways. So, again, this goes back to what I've been saying all along. There's nowhere to go with Rey. There's nowhere to go. They wrote the sequel so poorly with no planning and no like, hey, how will this impact future stories with this character? They just threw it out there as fast as they could. How appropriate for Rey, this is the Oplagus, oh god. How appropriate for Rey in particular, the heroine is actually the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine / Sidious, the overarching villain of the whole Star Wars saga. As nonsensical as that revelation is, it comes with numerous unsettling implications. Chief among them are her ties to the unnatural powers inherent in the dark side. You are born with, whether it's a high midichlorian count and you're adept in the Force, like you have a natural adeptness. That has nothing to do with motivation, and that has nothing to do with whether or not you want to be using the dark side. Absolutely nothing to do with it. So that's one of the only things they got right is the concept that Rey doesn't have to go dark just because she's Palpatine's granddaughter. There has to be motivations and things like that behind people going to the dark side. They don't just go to the dark side because they're related to somebody who is a Sith Lord. That doesn't make any sense. Also, too, and I would add, this is why I don't like the idea of Sith Lords having kids or having strand casts, whatever the heck it was. They're supposed to be like wizards, like it'd be like if like Saruman had a family in Lord of the Rings, right? Like it kind of takes away, right? It's not, they're supposed to be like monks, like a separate thing over here. They're not supposed to, and wizards, they're not supposed to be having babies. So that's the first problem already, and they've screwed that all up. So, but then you can't now say, oh, well, because her grandfather was Sidious, she has a propensity for dark side. No, she doesn't. She'd still have to make that decision. She has a natural gift in the Force, which of course she didn't have to do any training, which is ridiculous, but which if it was done right, she would have been able to train and learn, fairly easily because of that, or easier than the average bear. But that doesn't mean she's going dark side. Palpatine learned many of these from his own master, Darth Plagueis. Fans glimpse that process in the accompanying book. It details the power struggle that develops between multiple Sith Lords while Plagueis supposedly dies at his apprentice's hands. Who's to say that's the end? Well, that's what Snoke should have been. During his lifetime, he developed an ability to cheat death. This is why many fans theorized he was really Supreme Leader Snoke in the sequel trilogy. Bringing Plagueis back properly would bring the franchise full circle. Not now, man. It's way too late for that. And I think he'd be well over 200 years old if it's 15 years after the sequels. I think if the sequels took place, I did a video on this, I believe he would have been in like 185 or something like that. And then he'd be over 200. After all, his training is what Palpatine used to build his empire and tempt Anakin Skywalker to the dark side. Not to mention it would let Rey come to terms with her identity in a way that she never did in the previous films. No, actually, it's a waste. See, what makes the storyline that I wrote for my sequels, Reimagine, good is that, first of all, she's a Solo, so she's a Skywalker. Snoke is Plagueis, and therefore when Luke and Plagueis have these conversations, when Plagueis finally reveals himself, it's revealed that he seeded Shmi, and so he's been fomenting the prophecy. He's been trying to bring it to fruition for the Jedi, to try and use his seeds, his Skywalkers, to foment ruling from the shadows, and to have those opposing positions between Palpatine and the Jedi, and meanwhile he's sort of controlling both sides in a lot of ways. Having him come back now that all the Skywalkers are dead would totally take away, in my view. He should have been in 7, 8, and 9, because then it brings it full circle from Anakin's whole struggle with trying to find a way to heal Padme and yada, 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 which of course they already screwed up because Grogu knew healing, so if they knew healing at the Jedi Temple, why didn't somebody figure it out for Anakin? Whatever. They've screwed it up so bad now, it doesn't even make any sense. But bringing Plagueis back now is something I think they would do just because they're desperate and they want people to get excited for this movie. But it would be a big mistake. It doesn't resonate. There's no connection with her other than Palpatine was her grandfather, but everyone thinks that's stupid. So I don't see it working, but it's something I could see them doing. Just like it feels like they're going to do that with the Acolyte because they need something to get people excited because people are kind of bored and pissed off with what they're doing. Anyways, Plagueis should have been Snoke. They screwed it up. They could have had a big reveal that he seeded Shmi, and they could have brought the whole thing together in 9 movies amazingly well if they had done that, but they didn't. And then Luke could have went out a hero again by bringing about the plan and sacrificing himself to kill Plagueis, who's, his god, because he created the Skywalker line. This is all the stuff I did in my sequels Reimagine. It just makes so much more sense, brings everything full circle, but whatever. I could see them doing that, though, again, out of desperation. Okay, or for the Force Unleashed. Okay, the Force Unleashed is a video game. The Force powers are insane, but it's a video game. You're gonna go overboard a bit in a video game, and I'm fine with that. Like, even Cal is way OP. It's not like Jedi could just be running around pushing like 50 guys off cliffs everywhere they ran. But it's a video game. Fans already land-based Rey for being OP. She wields the Force with such prowess, absent any training, that she undermines virtually any challenge. Why not double down on the Mary Sue comments and go all the way? You know what? I hope they do. I hope they go so stupid that it's Captain Marvel, and then I will laugh. The Force Unleashed depicts a Sith prodigy who's one of the series' most absurdly powerful characters. He uses the Force to truly a devastating effect, from infusing his lightsaber with electricity to literally pull Star Destroyers out of the sky. That's only a few steps above what Rey does. Having her graduate to these godlike feats would be something fans might want to see, especially since they love power and craved such a showing for Luke Skywalker. No, we don't love power, not in and of itself. Rey is a piece of cardboard with power. Giving her more power? Honestly, I want them to, though, because this would be so funny. I want to see just her literally picking up like Supermaning Star Destroyers around. Like, I want her to use the Force to blow up a Death Star. Just stick her hand out and blow it up. That would be so awesome. And yes, we did want Luke to take his Jedi powers to another level, not necessarily a Force Unleashed level. But that was also because we felt like it was earned. He'd gone through a lot of stuff, and then you're talking, 30 years after Return of the Jedi, and so the assumption would be is that he honed his craft even more, but it was earned, right? We wanted to pay off that because it was earned. In the end, he Force Skyped. He didn't actually even really do anything. It was really sad. Alternatively, Force Unleashed may contribute something more meaningful to her character throughout the game. Starkiller acts as a Sith pawn. He never had a choice due to being indoctrinated as a child. Once he's finally free, he's unsure how to proceed, thus he must find a purpose beyond his master's dark will. That purpose is the burgeoning Rebel Alliance. Rey suffers from a similar lack of direction. What little definition she has comes from others. However, no more First Order means that she can finally choose her own trajectory. Taking the reins off like this provides a much-needed chance to find herself. Aside from a protagonist propped up on a pedestal, who is Rey? What does she want? And why does she want it? Such questions are the basis for any interesting character study. And they had 3 movies to give us those answers, and they didn't. The very fact you're writing that paragraph, wondering what would her motivations be? What are exactly? Why does she even want to rebuild the Jedi Order? because apparently she made a promise to Luke. That's literally all we have. Everything else, we have nothing. We don't have anything. There was 6.5 hours of movie, and she got tons of screen time, and we never dealt with it. It was always just, oh no, I don't know who I am. Oh no, who am I? My parents, oh no. What's my place in all this? And she's saying those lines meanwhile she's acting out her place in all this. The whole time she's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and I don't know my place. She's literally doing things and defeating bad guys and doing things. So it's stupid. It's stupid. This in turn may inform her decision to rebuild each other. No, she says because she made a promise to Luke. Maybe she even fashions a new order distinct from both Jedi and Sith, and that way the story would explore new territory or rising naturally from... Yeah, let's do the Great Jedi. Let's do it. Let's just try and write an interesting story about people that have no consequences for using the dark side. Do it. No consequences. Go ahead. That goes against everything the George Lucas Star Wars said, but go ahead, dude. I hope they do. I hope they make her gray, and I hope they make her so insanely OP that we can laugh our heads off watching this thing. And if they do make her gray, and she has no consequences for using the dark side, that she can just use it, it's over. There's nowhere to go at that point. There's even less places to go story-wise. Then she becomes like the OP of OP of OP of OPs. The Mary Sue of the Mary Sues. She would take her place as the merriest Sue of all time. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. I've said it along, there's nowhere to go. What do you think about that? Do you think they can actually make anything interesting? Do you have any interesting ideas that they could possibly do that differ from these? Just let me know your thoughts on this. Are you even interested in this movie? And as usual, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you do like this content, please like, subscribe. Always helps the channel. And check out anything else on my channel as well. And have yourselves a really good day.